Hello, my name is Kat, and this is Build a Book Episode 4. If you've been following along with the series so far, then you might have seen the title of this video and immediately thought, yeah, that tracks. Because that was more or less my reaction. I was thinking about tense and point of view for this haunted tattoo book, and I haven't quite come to a decision there yet. But as I was considering my options, it kind of just hit me that this book should really be a dual point of view. I've said over and over again that the relationship between the sisters is central to this story. So why is the book only from one of their perspectives? Especially when personality-wise, Charlie is more of a reactive character, while Penny is more active, which is what we like to see in a protagonist. Also, Penny has more of a main character growth arc. Like, her internal arc is all about pulling back from the toxic extreme of ambition. But hand in hand with that, she's really learning to be less of a selfish asshole. You know, she's the one who really needs to make amends and earn forgiveness. She betrayed Charlie in favor of her ambition. So she has more of like a lesson to learn, right? If not protagonist, why protagonist shaped? So, dual point of view. As soon as I considered it, it like clicked into place. It was like when I swapped the silly serious dynamic. Immediately I was like, yes, this book is obviously a dual point of view. How did I ever consider the alternative? I love that moment, that click where something slides into place. That storytelling epiphany where you're like, of course, this is how the story is. This is how the story was always meant to be. So, we're re-outlining this book. Again, this is nothing new for me. I am constantly adjusting or completely rewriting my outlines. I think that's something that people who don't typically outline can kind of get wrong about outlining. It doesn't have to lock you into something or be really restrictive. Like if you were planning a vacation, you might design a basic itinerary for your trip. But once you're there doing it, you might change things up. Maybe you want to drop an activity or swap it for something else. Or you come across something you never considered before and you're like, we gotta do that. Personally, I think making an outline is really important, but I also think it's important to keep an open mind for change and to be ready to throw away the plan and make a new one if you need to. I'm an Aquarius sun with a Virgo rising, and I know people think astrology is fake, but I think that explains a lot about me. Anyways, my point is, you gotta be flexible with your outline. Don't box yourself into something that no longer fits the story just because it was what you originally planned. Have you ever watched a show or read a book series where the writer was like, this ending has been planned from the very beginning, and you were just like, yeah, no, I can tell because it no longer fits the story, but for some reason you've still stubbornly stuck to it. How I Met Your Mother? Looking at you. Like, it might seem a little contradictory, but my main piece of advice for working with an outline is to always be open to changing it. All right, moving on. I've been asked quite a bit about how the 27 chapter method can be used for a book that has more than one point of view. You know, people wondering if they should just like assign alternating chapters to different characters, or if they should do like a full 27 point outline for each character and then blend it together, or a full 27 point outline for each character and then just have 54 chapters. And I'm just like, yes, any of those are fine. Whatever you want to do, because that is the beauty of storytelling. This outline method is a basic skeleton structure. It's meant to be a tool that you can adapt or interpret however you like. I always encourage people to experiment and play around with it because I think that's one of the best ways to learn and get like hands-on practical experience and level up your writing. Personally, I have used all of those approaches and more. It really depends on the story. Like, I have one project, Book. Do you remember Book from the writing vlogs, Project TXS? That story has like a strict alternating back and forth chapter pattern. Then I have another story that has 4 point of view characters, but one is like the main character and 70% of the book is from their point of view. And then the other 3 characters each get like 10% of the book, just a couple scenes scattered throughout, just to like broaden the scope and add more depth. And I have another story that has 3 main characters who all get about equal page time, but there's no real pattern determining like who narrates each scene. One of my favorite books of all time has the most chaotic point of view just structure that I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's the kind of thing that I would never do myself because I like patterns too much. It's in first person present, and there are like 9 point of view characters, though some of them only get to narrate like a couple scenes each. Some chapters are like 20 plus pages, while other chapters are like half a page, a sentence or two. Some chapters are in only one point of view all the way through, while other chapters will swap point of view mid-chapter, sometimes exchanging just like sentences or paragraphs at a time. There is no pattern whatsoever to this structure. It's chaos, it's revelry, but Daddy, I love him! If you aren't aware, I am talking about Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, one of my favorite books of all time. I adore it completely. The point of view and chapter structure is utter chaos, but it works, and I love it. Anyways, for this book, for Haunted Tattoo Book, I am going to start with the existing 27 chapter outline that I already have, and I'm going to see if assigning alternating chapters between Charlie and Penny works. If it does, yay! If it doesn't, also yay! Because that means I get to write individual outlines for each character and then try to blend them together, and that's really fun for me. So either way, I win. I actually tend to write out like a full 27-point outline for every character and every subplot in a story. Even if all these characters and subplots aren't in every single chapter, I still like to have that overview so I can track these different threads throughout the story. But we'll get into that in a future video when we talk about like subplot weaving. That's gonna be a fun time. For now, I'm just gonna take the existing 27 chapter outline and alternate Penny in. And then I'll tinker with it and swap out scenes here and there to make it work. Since I do now have 2 point of view characters, I want to assess each scene and determine who is the best to narrate that scene. So I might not hold myself to like a strict alternating pattern. Or, you know, I could always do something like have a strict alternating pattern until the darkest moment where Charlie is left for dead, and then I'll give you like back-to-back Penny chapters for the drama. But I'm gonna start with a simple back and forth alternating as a base. So let's jump into the screen recording and see if we can make this work. All right, so this is our outline. I've already gone through and labeled the chapters alternating Charlie and Penny to see what that gives us. And it actually worked out way better than I thought it would. I mean, I didn't think it would not work, but there are certain chapters or scenes that I feel are really important to be narrated by a specific character, and the natural alternating division landed most of those in the right place already. For example, when they break into the lab. This should really be a Charlie chapter for a couple reasons. First, where Penny is sort of reckless and kind of action first, think about it later if you must. Charlie is much more observant and analytical. So entering a new location, especially one as important as the lab, or meeting new people, like in the Push chapter, where we meet all the fellow students in the program, we want Charlie in the driver's seat for these scenes. Not only is she going to be better at giving us observations and descriptions, due to her personality, but it would feel kind of awkward and out of character for Penny to be ruminating so much on like what the lab looks like or what she thinks about the crew. Penny has history with this location and these characters, so introducing them through her perspective wouldn't feel as natural as doing it through Charlie. This is a new location to her. These are new people. She is meeting them with us, the reader, so it's new to both of us. Penny is too focused on her project. She's a selfish asshole, remember? Especially in Act 1, where she hasn't started to change yet. She doesn't care about what the lab looks like or what the other people are doing. Whereas Charlie, on the other hand, is observing and analyzing. Also, the emotion emotional factor. This location and kind of the people here as well are at the center of her estrangement and conflict with Penny, because this location and these people stole Penny from her twice. First, when Penny chose the program over Charlie, and second, when Penny died here. So Charlie is like bitter and jealous, but also curious and interested in this place. Not only is Charlie going to give us better descriptions, but she has more of an emotional reaction to being here. So we want her to narrate these scenes, right? With Penny, some of the chapters that naturally fell to her in the alternating division, we have her narrating the scene with the psychic who has answers. We learn some ghost lore here, and Penny is our ghost, so it makes sense that we see it from her point of view. We learn it was murder in her point of view. We go to her funeral in her point of view, and we have Charlie attacked and left for dead in her point of view, which could probably work with either of them narrating, but I think highlighting how helpless she is in this moment with Charlie knocked out and left for dead and Penny unable to do anything, I think that sets us up for a good darkest moment. Now, none of these really stand out as being wrong, like the wrong character narrating, but there are quite a few that could really go either way, like these scenes in early Act 2 and the end of Act 2, where they're like investigating the murder and working on the project, etc. These chapters are probably going to be made up of multiple scenes, and I haven't quite figured them out yet, like it's still really vague. And you know, I'm actually thinking as I look at this, instead of a strict alternating pattern between the chapters, I should maybe do a style where we alternate scenes, or we can switch point of view within a chapter. Like this chapter here, early on, chapter 3, where Charlie rebels against the call to action. She's still pissed at Penny over her betrayal. She doesn't want to help her. So instead, she has like a little montagey sequence where she visits various psychics and tries to get Penny exorcised. Like, hi, do you do exorcisms here? I think my tattoo is haunted. And she keeps getting kicked out. Like, how dare you mock my art? It's not a joke. My tattoo is haunted by like a super annoying ghost. For this chapter, I'm imagining it as multiple small scenes as we visit various psychics. And now I'm thinking it might be fun if we alternate back and forth within the chapter. Like, we're still discovering and figuring out the limits and rules of being a ghost, so Penny getting used to her new ghost form as Charlie is trying to get her exorcised. So I think swapping point of view back and forth within the chapter could be fun. I think we could do that with the first 2 chapters as well, except we'll make it one chapter. We'll combine it. That way we get the introduction and inciting incident together. You know, Charlie's point of view section ends with the inciting incident of Penny's dead, and then we cut to Penny, and we get an introduction of her along with the inciting incident discovery of she's a ghost and she's tethered to Charlie's tattoo. Now, doing this style instead of strict alternating chapters does take away from the drama of this moment at the end, where we get these back-to-back Penny sections, and it was going to be like, oh dang, we broke the pattern. Shit's getting real. But if we've established that point of view can switch within a chapter at any given scene break, we won't have that pattern-breaking moment of drama. So we lose out on that. But I think the ability to switch back and forth within a chapter is more useful than keeping a strict alternating pattern just for that reason. You know, I like my patterns, but if it's a choice, I think I prefer the ability to assign each scene to the character I want, regardless of pattern. I think there are 2 main approaches to structuring a story. You either adapt your story to fit the structure you want, like a strict alternating pattern. You might have to move scenes around to get the right narrator at the right time. Or you adapt your structure to fit the story as it naturally grows. In this case, we're adapting the structure to fit the story. It's not going to be quite as inconsistently chaotic as a book like Carry On. Like, I think I still want my chapters to be around the same length, and our two narrators will get about even page time. But we have the option to switch narrators at any given scene break. I think part of what makes this transition to dual point of view so easy with this book is that the sisters are together in almost every scene. If they were off, separated, doing different things, I'd probably have to work a little harder to weave the different perspectives together. But Penny is haunting Charlie's tattoo. If she tries to move too far away, she gets yoinked back. It's the forced proximity trope. So they're both in almost every single scene together. So for some of these chapters, whose perspective we're in isn't that important. Now at this point, I am not really sure how to divvy out the scenes because I haven't figured them out yet. You know, chapters can have multiple scenes within them. Like this bit where we meet the crew, meeting everyone at once in one scene isn't the best idea because it's like character overwhelm. If we meet 5 people at once, we don't get a good grasp on who's who, or at least not as good of a grasp if we meet them all individually, one at a time, and give each of them an introduction moment. So this chapter is probably going to be spread out throughout the day as Charlie is doing other things. We'll probably have a handful of short scenes with scene breaks, and every scene break gives us the option to switch point of view. We might not. We might stick in one point of view across a scene break, or we can go back and forth. Like this chapter with the montage of visiting various psychics. We could stick with just Charlie as she visits Psychic 1, Psychic 2, Psychic 3, etc. Or we could alternate Penny in there. We have options. I love having the freedom of options while also having a pattern. So yeah, as we break our chapters down into scenes, and, you know, some chapters are only one scene, but some will be multiple scenes, I'll have to assess each scene and figure out, like, which character is best suited to narrate, who is affected the most emotionally, like Penny discovering she was murdered, or who is otherwise best suited, like giving Charlie the scenes where we are in new locations, or meeting new people, or reacting, analyzing something. So yes, I'm going to continue to tinker with this and work on combining the chapters and splitting the point of view within them. I can really only do the first half of the book at this point in time because the second half is much more vague. Like I have a much better idea of what's going on in the first half. Even though I jump around a lot when I'm writing, I tend to stick mostly to the first half and only pop into the second half if like something really important or relevant comes up that I need to put down. So this here is just like a current idea for how I want the layout to go, but I'm, of course, going to tinker with it and figure it out some more. It looks like my chapters are going to end up being pretty long because I'm combining multiple plot points into some of these chapters. But I think we're heading in the right direction. I am really excited about the dual point of view here. I think it's a really good choice. And, you know, also, I just love writing dual point of view. I write a lot of dual point of view, multi-point of view books. I don't necessarily mean to, they just tend to grow that way. This is how it starts. I think I'm writing a short, simple standalone, and then all of a sudden I'm adding new points of view, and new subplots, and character backstories, and oh my god, why is this book so fucking long? Is this a series now? Fortunately, this book will stay a standalone. Oh shit, did I just curse myself? No, it's a murder mystery. Once we solve the murder mystery, we're done. Unless... No. Well, no! Be sure to tune into my next episode, How to Plan a Series. No! Anyways, sorry, I'm done. This video's done. I'm peacing out. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful night. And I will have another video up soon, so I will see you then. Bye!